All right, well, just some friendly emails between agency officials exchanging already public information. That is how the IRS explained some very curious exchanges between Lois Lerner and a redacted Federal Election Commission higher-up. Now, pleasantly emailing each other over the tax status of one conservative group. But it got me thinking, it can happen sometimes. Can the IRS even share information with, let's say, the Federal Election Commission, maybe especially the Federal Election Commission? Should it be sharing such information with anyone? I thought there were walls blocking that sort of thing, imaginary or otherwise. Now, forget whether you even like it. Can these guys then even legally do it? It's time to have at it with Domenic Romano, who says that they can share a wages deal, and Heather Hansen, who says, no way, no deal. It's illegal as hell. All right, so Domenic, you're saying, calm down. This is all fine. Why?
Yes, because that's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to investigate. The IRS Cincinnati office, exempt organizations, is supposed to prevent groups that are politically motivated from getting exempt status. So they're investigating. And the Federal Elections Commission is supposed to investigate election irregularities. So they're communicating. Government entities need to communicate. You know, it sounds a little bit sometimes, I must confess, like a bonfire of scandals around here or conspiracy theories. Every day you're throwing in another log. I mean, that's what these people are supposed to do. They're supposed to communicate in the public interest.
All right, but do you think when you throw in another log, it's because there are a lot of logs and a lot of fires burning? Because the one thing, there might be something to what he says. He's an expert lawyer and all that. But on the surface, it would appear to me to be an FEC official checking with an IRS official on the status of a group, of, with the defense being is publicly available information, but you have still singled out this group for questioning, and we want to know what you have on them. It just sounds weird.
Well, Neil, there's a lot of, you said yesterday, weird, it's curious. There's a lot of words to use to describe it. Whether or not it's illegal is questionable, but the procedure in which they're doing it is definitely questionable and may border on illegal. They are supposed to only let people know whether or not a company has received tax-exempt status.
And what difference then would that make, let's say, if you're at the FEC?
Well, the FEC, as Domenic says, that part of their job is to investigate whether or not somebody is influencing elections or has a
So,
part
to
in
Dominic's point, that could be a legitimate inquiry.
Absolutely, it could be. But how do you do it? You're not supposed to just send an email inquiring as to this information. There's very specific rules.
Well, what emails we have seen were fairly innocuous.
But they're asking about, we know that they've applied for this, whether or not it's exempt. You shouldn't know whether or not they applied for this. That is, pending applications are something that is not supposed to be disclosed by the IRS. And whether or not something's been denied is not supposed to be disclosed by the IRS.
Well, we don't know whether that next leap even occurred, but your argument on it is that agencies and government entities should be talking to one another, that if we learned anything, I guess, pre-9/11, is that they weren't doing enough of that. Do you think in this kind of case, when it comes to personal information, even a group's personal information, they can go too far?
They can go too far, and that's why regulations and rules are in place. But sometimes they need to investigate.
Well, do you think regulations
on whether
were
to investigate.
waved off here? That too many groups were targeted, and
well,
it was weird.
We have seen no emails of anything other than publicly available information being requested.
But I mean, even the targeting of these groups, to the targeting of the groups, you find that a little sordid?
No, because the conservative groups were targeted. Liberal groups were targeted. Groups with Occupy in them.
Independent
say the liberal
groups are targeted.
Yes.
You know, we tried like the Dickens to get any one of those aforementioned liberal groups on. Not a one. Not a one came forward. Not a one said, hey, we were targeted. I would believe it if I saw it and they came on and talked about it. They haven't. So I'm beginning to think that might be just a ruse.
Well, or maybe the conservative groups are more inclined to come down.
Are you kidding? If I'm targeted, I don't care if I'm Solzhenitsyn or Adolf Hitler. I'm going to come forth and just say, hey, you see what happened to me?
Well,
right? It's human nature.
Does it depend on the definition of targeted? I mean, here, the question is, was this exchange inappropriate? And were they being targeted? Or was it just, as Dominic's point is, an innocent question? I think that there's a lot of problems with the procedures. So
when the president says, again, these are phony scandals, and we're going to get into this a little later, what do you think of that?
I think that there are, listen, this is the government. They're supposed to be transparent. If I call up somebody in my office and I ask this question, maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. But if we're supposed to trust our government, there's got to be some transparency here, and there's got to be some explanations as to why they're not following the rules that they made. I think that that's part of the problem.
All right, so much we don't know. Probably in the drip of, can I mix that with logs? We're gonna find out more. Who knows?